they performed heroically again, just, never in huge amounts of trouble. And to score 3 goals at home again, wonderful, wonderful stuff.
Well, speaking of heroics, we're getting somewhat used to seeing pretty cracking goals here at St Mary's. I mean, Armstrong in the last round, Romeo on Friday, and Perraud tonight. I mean, Dean, wow.
Wow was the right word, and you'd have an argument to say that is the best of all three. It's a fantastic strike. It really, really is, and it comes from a brilliant bit of possession from Southampton. Actually, they kept the ball for a long, long period of time. Was moving it around the pitch, lots of movement, composed in possession. And I'm going to be honest here, Kenzie, as the ball comes to Perraud, I'm probably shouting at the screen not to shoot, because he lines it up and he sees it early. You can see what he's thinking. I mean, but what a wonderful strike. And the movement on the ball just shows the power that he got into it. Just moves in the air, goes away from the keeper, and kind of, it's not a flat strike. It kind of dips at the end and kind of goes into the top corner, but fantastic goal. And, his reaction is a bit like he's not surprised. Like, I'll do that every day in training. It's just a thing. And it was a brilliant strike, and it lifted the game. And at that point, you'd probably say Southampton deserved it. I thought they were coming into the game. They looked pretty strong in that moment. But it's a wonderful strike. And credit to Perraud, because he would have been disappointed, to lose his position in the so-called league team, or the first team, you would say. But due to the form of Kyle Walker-Peters and Livramento, it's been difficult for him. But he's come back into the team. He scored a wonderful goal. I think he got man of the match as well, and put in a very, very good performance. Nice and solid, looked really fit, and looks happy with his football. So, yeah, brilliant goal. But, I'd have to probably own up. I was shouting, don't shoot. Please don't shoot. Who am I to judge? I didn't score many goals in my career. Goals like that. So, my opinion probably doesn't count.
Well, we were certainly glad he did shoot, weren't we?
We were
Paul, we've spoken a lot on the show and on previous shows about who Ralph should pick at fullback, whether it be Walker-Peters or Livramento or Perraud. Does tonight change the pecking order at all, or at least give the boss something to think about?
I don't know how you can put a pecking order together, to be honest. Who's better than anyone else at the moment? How do you pick 2 out of those 3? With Kyle Walker-Peters able to play in both positions, I think it's a lovely headache for Ralph Hasenhüttl to have. I've said before on here that Perraud didn't impress me greatly at the very start of the season. It was way too early to jump to that sort of conclusion when he was adjusting to a new country and a new club, new style of football, everything about that. He has really kicked on in the last few weeks. His performances against City and Spurs hugely impressed me. He was unlucky, got COVID, didn't he, that ruled him out the Everton game. And they're clearly pushing each other on, because they all know that if one of them drops just a fraction of a percent, there's someone else to jump in there and isn't going to give up the shirt very easily. That's, in a way, an easy area for Ralph Hasenhüttl to rotate, because he knows that the consistency will be there. In other areas tonight, he clearly didn't have any doubts. He put in a lot of players that others wouldn't have had in the squad, perhaps even, certainly not in the starting 11. But those 3, you pick any other Premier League team who's got 3 fullbacks who are so good, so consistent, and I can't think of too many teams that can match Southampton for strength in that area right now, and for potential as well, because none of them's old. They're all got huge long careers ahead of them.
Oh, it's exciting, isn't it? A lovely problem for Ralph to have. Well, let's get stuck into some of the comments, shall we? Because as you can imagine, I've got plenty coming into me on the iPad here. So let's have a look at what you're saying at home. Richard Bryan, hello to you. He says, great game, chuffed, as are we. Jill Clark, good evening. So people thought Ralph was wrong in picking that team. It just goes to prove dangerous to ever doubt him. Yes, indeed, Jill. Andrew, hello. He says, such a professional performance. Big credit to the system, the group and the manager. Very proud to be in the next round with this team. Anthony, hello. He says, great team effort. Smallbone fitted in perfect. And Louisa Ellis McSwan has also left us a comment. She says, what a goal by Perraud. Quarterfinals, here we come. Oh, that feels so good to say. Dean, let's pick apart the first half then, shall we? How did Saints do for you in the first 45? And also, what did you make of that double change at half time?
I think Southampton grew into the game in the first half. It took them probably 10, 15 minutes to probably settle, if I'm totally honest. And West Ham probably started the better of the two teams. And that would be expected. You know, they're playing their full strength team that are playing together week in and week out. But like I say, Southampton grew into that first half, a half opportunity for Adam Armstrong as the ball comes across and kind of snatches it. Then another opportunity where he kind of goes through one-on-one. And I think an inform and regularly playing Adam Armstrong takes that shot on and doesn't even look to pass the ball to a small bone, but he's a little bit unselfish in that moment. But I'd like to see him take the strike on. And obviously the goal from Perraud changed everything. And then Southampton settled, I think. So they were the better team in the first half. But I think it was a sensible decision at half-time to make the substitutions. In the FA Cup, you can make 5. And obviously we saw the strength of and the substitutes and the impact they could have. I think Shane Long was probably an enforced decision. He looked like he picked up a bit of a knock in the first half, and Broja coming on obviously had the impact he did. And Stuart Armstrong coming on for Gineppo, I think was a good decision. I think Gineppo just a little bit short of match fitness, if I'm totally honest, and didn't settle. Probably was trying too hard, if I'm honest, to make an impression, which you do sometimes as a player. You're so eager to get that starting chance, so eager to make an impression, to do something special, to make the manager notice. It can kind of have a negative effect sometimes. But, you know, it wasn't for the want of trying. Just the quality wasn't necessarily there. And Stuart Armstrong came on and played well. But, you know, again, it was clever from the manager, intelligent from the manager, and the substitutes made a difference going into the second half, and Southampton worthy winners in the end in a brilliant cup tie.
West Ham did get an equaliser in the 60th minute, Paul. Slightly calamitous keeping, you could say, if you're being harsh. Was it the manner of that goal that was maybe a bit disappointing?
Yeah, it wasn't Willy Caballero's finest moment. He's been a tremendous signing, hasn't he? A sort of no-brainer in some ways, but, you know, great experience, and he's pulled off some phenomenal saves. There was one right at the death in this game, wasn't there? And just like he did in the commentary match. But there were signs before the goal that corners perhaps aren't his strong point. It's not easy when you've got a couple of giants stood on your toes on the goal line at a corner. He had Issa Diop, Mikel Antonio, Kurt Zouma. They were taking it in turns to block him and make life very difficult. No huge surprise, was it, when Mikel Antonio scored, coming back to St Mary's after all this time? It's not, you know, he's done that a few times. Surely, I think, the only member of the class of 2009-10 who actually achieved anything in his career, I think. Is that right, Dean?
Are you going to have that, Dean?
No comment.
Oh, he's taken that like a champ. Well, it did look for a while that momentum had shifted in West Ham's favour, didn't it, Dean? And then, of course, a huge moment in the match was the penalty awarded to Southampton. What were your views on that?
I wasn't sure, to be honest, Kenzie. You know, in real, excuse me, in live play, I wasn't sure. You know, I was expecting Broja to take the shot on, if I'm honest, and I thought as though he delayed it a little bit too long, potentially waiting for the contact to try and win the penalty. And like I say, in live play, I wasn't too sure whether Dawson had actually got a touch on the ball. But with the replays, I think it's the right decision. If you look at it, Dawson he makes contact with Broja before he makes contact with the ball. So I think it's a free kick, a penalty. I think it's the right decision. Difficult for the referee to see it because it happens so quick. I think it comes from good movement from Broja, but actually poor defending from Dawson. He lets the ball bounce. He kind of gets his body in the wrong position in terms of defending. Can't quite sort his feet out quick enough. But clever play from Broja. I'd like to have seen him take the shot on, but he was waiting for the contact. And good from VAR, you know, just looking at it. It didn't take too long, so the decision didn't drag out. And then the referee going over to the monitor, taking that responsibility. But we know if the referee's going to the monitor, likely or not, he's going to change his decision. And he didn't. He looked at it for a couple of minutes, I'd say, probably from one or two angles. And I think he came up with the right decision. And again, that changed the game. And as soon as James Ward-Prowse steps up, you're confident that he's going to score because he's in great form. He likes that responsibility, and it's a really, really good penalty. So I think it's the right decision, but I can see why the referee in live play and real speed maybe didn't give the decision straight away.
Now, Paul, Craig Dawson's surely going to be sick of the sight of Armando Broja. I mean, that's the second penalty he's given away against him this season. I think I know your answer to this because I saw your message in the group chat, but is that a penalty for you?
Definite, no shadow of a doubt. First time you saw it, everyone realised. West Ham fans are absolutely fuming on social media. Of course they are. But it's one of those where I just think these days, it doesn't seem to matter how much of the ball you get if there's a lot of contact. And for me, I understand the argument of, was he waiting for the contact? Why didn't he pull the trigger? His standing foot, when he goes to sort of plant his standing foot, I think there's contact there, which then puts him off balance and trying to shoot. So, you know, he was coming from a pretty hopeless position, Craig Dawson, because Broja had got the better of him. And yeah, I'm not surprised that the referee couldn't give it because of the way, you know, where he was positioned. But I was a little bit surprised that VAR took as long as they did, to be honest with you. I thought, yeah, there's too much contact there for it not to be. I think in some ways, if he had got a shot off and the ball had dribbled wide because he hadn't been able to connect properly, that might even have counted against him. And they've said, no, you got your shot away and it, you know, you didn't make the most of it. I think he is a very clever striker, a very smart striker. For 20 years old, he's got so much potential, so much talent, and so many street smarts as well, Armando Broja. So I think, yeah, Craig Dawson didn't look too disappointed or surprised when the decision went against him either. And I think that tells you an awful lot.
He is an incredible player, isn't he? And his goal sealed it tonight, Dean. What a fantastic run that was.
Brilliant, Kenzie. You know, I mean, what more can you say about him? Paul's just said there, you know, for a player who's 20 years old, to be having the season he's having, to be having the impact he's having on Southampton, to lead the line in the hardest position in the team. It's the hardest thing to do in football is to score goals, and he's making it look easy. He really is, and he's a presence. He's bullying defenders. He looks so strong and so streetwise. Like Paul said, he's very, very clever. He really understands the game and how to use his body, and that's a skill in itself. It really is. But as soon as he gets that ball, what I like about him, he's so direct, and he's just got one thought in his mind of like, how can I get a shot off here? How can I get myself in a position to be able to get a strike at goal or create something for someone else? And I love the way that he's selfish. You want strikers to be selfish when they get in those moments to commit the defender, to take the responsibility of taking defenders on. And yes, sometimes he's going to give it away and sometimes he will get tackled, but on other times he'll score a fantastic goal like he did tonight. You know, in that position against Zuma, his balance is brilliant. He knows what he's going to do. He gets Zuma off balance and he's on balance and just gets it back onto his right foot. And then the finish is so composed because he opens up the angle and he would get excited in that moment thinking, right, I've got a chance of scoring here. But he just slides it into that far corner and you can just see the confidence is grown in him. And he's just so composed. You know, there's no surprise to him. He's like, of course, you know, I'll get myself in that position. I'll score a goal. So he's a real talent and he's been a huge bonus and plus for this Southampton team. And long may it continue for the rest of the season because he's playing fantastic football at the moment.
Now, the draw for the quarter-finals is tomorrow night. Earlier, Chelsea made it through. They squeezed past Luton and currently Liverpool are beating Norwich 2-1. I suppose, Paul, they're two sides that Saints might want to avoid in the next round, but should they be fearing anyone?
No, absolutely not. And you're quite right that it'd be better not to draw Liverpool, City, Chelsea in the quarter-finals. And especially away. But saying that, Southampton have pretty positive memories of going to all three of those big grounds and having pretty good successes in the not too distant past, and even this season going to the Etihad and coming away with a point. I mentioned the trip to Stamford Bridge in the League Cup that you know, they needed penalties to beat Southampton that day. There are other teams though that, you know, if you were able to choose the draw, you would avoid those three, of course. But, what a cracking opportunity now with so many of the other big guns, Manchester United, Arsenal, Tottenham, and so on, all out. There are some potential draws there that would have a lot of fans licking their lips. The big thing, the thing that would make Ralph Hasenhüttl the happiest, I'm sure, is a home draw, because right now, after so many seasons where even getting a draw at St Mary's seemed a real struggle, now it's turning into a fortress again. That is a stadium that opposition teams do not like coming to right now, because they know they're up against an immensely well-drilled team with such enormous energy levels and threats all over the park and a variety of ways they can approach the game. No team is going to relish coming to St Mary's. With a place at Wembley in the semi-final on the line, I think a home draw would suit Southampton down to the ground. And, let's get this out again.
Oh, so exciting, isn't it? I mean, the atmosphere really has been unbelievable. Yeah, get the cup out again. We want to lift the real thing. Let's take a look at what's been said on socials then. Great to hear from the fans as always. Duncan Atkinson, thanks for getting in touch. He says, with 5 subs, his selection was a great tactic. Christine Crockford says, love my Saints. Oh, don't we all? Jack Latham, hello. I thought Valerie had a great game. Yeah, he did. James Mattock, Stevens and James Ward-Prowse were my men of the match. Stephen and Karen on Facebook say, great team effort. Well done, Saints. David Wilson, hello, thanks for this. He says, masterclass tactics and with the talent in the squad really shining. Pete Butler, good evening. He says, great team play did worry me by early selections, but masterclass substitutions. And let's end with this one because this is a nice one. Tom Skilling says, Dean is a legend. He is indeed a legend.
Yeah, very fitting comment.
That's Dean.
And Belvers, of course. I've got too many to read out for you, Belvers, so we'll just leave it at that.
Now, attention does turn back to the Premier League as Southampton travel to Aston Villa on Saturday. Dean, the legend, let's come to you here. What are your early thoughts ahead of that one?
Well, it's nice being called a legend, I must admit. Looking forward to it, Steve. Big game for Southampton, like we say, with the choices and the decisions that the manager's made tonight in terms of freshening up the squad. The players that will come back into the team will be fresh. The form of Southampton is brilliant at the moment. The performances are fantastic at the moment. And Aston Villa are under a little bit of pressure. Their last home game, lost to Watford, got booed off. They had an excellent result of the weekend against Brighton. But there is some pressure at Villa Park for Aston Villa and Steven Gerrard at the moment. So they won't want to be playing Southampton. Southampton are in fantastic form. And if they take, like Paul said, if they take that energy, that discipline, that organisation to Villa Park, they will cause Aston Villa all sorts of problems. So I'm looking forward to the game. And it's a game that Southampton can really look forward to winning and really believe that they can win.
Yeah, that's right, Paul. Southampton are in fantastic form and they want to keep that rolling on the road against Aston Villa at the weekend, aren't they?
Absolutely. I was at the Brighton game against Villa at the weekend, and Villa scored a couple of cracking goals, but they didn't have much of the ball. They didn't create much outside those 2 fantastic strikes from Cash and Watkins, and they are in transition. Steven Gerrard's only been there a couple of months. They're learning what he wants from them, and I think Southampton can go there and win again. I don't expect a performance like the one we saw at Wolves a few weeks ago. I expect one like at Spurs and the second half against Manchester United and games like that. It doesn't seem to matter to Southampton at the moment whether they're playing at home or away, who they're up against. They have so many options, so much confidence, so many threats. I think it's a fantastic time to be a Southampton fan, and long may Ralph stay in charge, and long may this lovely feeling roll on.
Oh, yes, indeed. Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, Dean, Belvers, a pleasure to have you both on the show with us as always. Belvers, I think we should see the cup one more time before we say goodbye. There it is. Thank you both, and we look forward to seeing you soon. And of course, huge thank you to all the fans for joining us on Saints Live and the final whistle as Southampton look to take this wonderful momentum into the weekend. As we've mentioned, they travel to the Midlands to take on Aston Villa. That's a 3 o'clock kickoff, so we'll be live from 1:45. So join us then. Bye for now.